The Brits did not end slavery on any form of moral ground. It was all because of greed. Now listen closely. Brits ended slavery because of two main factors. The first being the successful slave revolts in the Caribbean, which saw the death of thousands of white human trafficking plantation owners. Human trafficking, aka slavery, no longer had its allure in Britain when potential human traffickers realized that they would be traveling thousands of miles to places that they would be outnumbered and ultimately murdered by victims of the slave trade. Brits back in England saw what happened to their family members that came back home from the Caribbean and were afraid because their family members were maimed, scalped, and oftentimes dead on arrival because they were brutally injured in these colonies and had to escape on ships, but eventually died at sea due to lack of urgent medical attention. This led to the Brits having to make a decision. Either we end up being overtaken by our European neighbours as the up-and-coming global power due to losing our colonies, or we put the plan we have of starting the industrialization process into play and destroy our neighbours' chances of taking us over. Guess which option they took? Which leads to the second reason, which is the hasty implementation of the Industrial Revolution due to a high turnover of not only plantation overseers, but also navy men that would often be killed in rebellions in the Caribbean. The British wanted to thwart the edge the Spanish, Dutch, French, and Portuguese would have had by trafficking humans because not all that glittered in Europe was stolen gold. You see, Europeans were enemies that often begrudged, hated, and even killed each other while salivating over each other's stolen goods, and to be quite frank, the Brits really couldn't keep up with the other colonial human traffickers, so they devised a plan to destroy their competitors by hastily implementing industrialization so they could convince the bankers such as the Rothschild and Orsini families to fund the assembly line instead of voyages from Africa to the New World because of the high turnover of the human trafficking trade. They also wanted the insurance companies to insure the machines against fires and arson committed by non-abolitionists that wanted the slave trade to continue instead of insuring machinery. It goes deeper than this, but for now, whenever they tell you they British stopped slavery, remember that it was because they were greedy cowards that couldn't find anyone brave enough to continue human trafficking from Africa to their colonies in the West Indies.